Welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast with David Baker. David was a former paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division and for over 30 years has been a preacher. He has written 5 books and is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. He is the chaplain at the county jail, pastors a church, and is the father of 11 children. Yes, 11. This podcast is here to give you wisdom for your family, your marriage, your children, your finances, your health, and your life. And now, the host of Wisdom of Life podcast, David Baker.
Hello and welcome. It is David Baker here, your host for the Wisdom for Life podcast. Hey, we would like to give you wisdom. Wisdom for your life. Wisdom is knowing what to do and having the power to do it in every situation you come to. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to have that? Wisdom for your family, your children, your marriage, your finances, your health, and your country. So welcome to the Wisdom for Life podcast. Today's lesson, you ready? If you have kids around, you may not want them to hear this, okay? The title of it is Child Ring, No Curfew, No Swats, No Timeouts, okay? How does that sound? I preached a sermon on Sunday night with this title, and I announced it on Sunday morning. And I said, all right, come back tonight. Kids were excited. Parents were nervous. After the sermon was over, the parents were excited. The kids were nervous. So anyway, hang on. Don't turn me off yet. But first, we want to teach you something or learn you something. As they say in the South, we have a joke for you. Give you something that we love and something that we hate. A good quote, Bible trivia, and a gift. All right. Housekeeping. Make sure if you got a question, ask Pastor Baker at gmail.com. Give us a good rating wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, if you want a video. Some people said, well, we really like watching the video. Okay, go watch the video. YouTube, Wisdom for Life podcast on the YouTube channel or wisdomforlifepodcast.com. You can go there. And Facebook, follow us on David Mark Baker. And then Rumble, we're also on Rumble. All right, first we'd like to learn you something, okay? So people have different fears, right? You have the fear of falling, the fear of fire, fear of spiders, Iraqophobia, I believe it is. So this one is pretty interesting. I've never heard of this fear, okay? And so just so you can hear how to pronounce it, I'm going to play the pronunciation for it, and then see if I can say it. Are you ready? See if this will pick up.
Iraqi Beetrophobia. Iraqi Beetrophobia.
Did you get that? All right. It is called Iraqi Beetrophobia. Okay. Iraqi Beetrophobia. So anyone know what that is? Okay. I've never heard of this. I don't know who sits around and makes these things up, but you ready? Here it is. This could almost be the joke for the day, but Iraqi Beetrophobia is fear that peanut butter will stick to the roof of your mouth. Yes, there is a phobia for that. This phobia is often connected with the fear of choking or the fear of sticky textures, but that can be its own isolated fear. Okay, so now you know there's a fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Thought you'd like to know that. All right, the joke for the day. You got to think a little bit through this. If you get it, it's quite cute and funny, I think. All right, so you got to think about what different religions don't allow, okay? Think about what different religions don't allow. A Jewish rabbi and a Catholic priest. Got it? Jewish rabbi and a Catholic priest were good friends. At a picnic one day, the priest was eating a ham sandwich. You know, he said to his friend, this ham sandwich is delicious. I know you're not supposed to eat ham, but I don't understand why such a good thing would be forbidden. When are you going to break down and try it? The rabbi, without missing a beat, not even looking up, said, at your wedding. At your wedding. All right. Did you get that? Hopefully you do. It's not a deep one, but I'm sure that went over well. All right. Things I love. Last week we talked about babies. So, hey, this week things I love, puppies. Okay. Don't like all dogs. I like dogs, but puppies, oh boy, they are cute. First dog I ever had was named Prissy, more of a mutt dog, but she had puppies and they were so cute and fun to play with. My grandmother always had a dog and puppies. You go play with them. Then we got a Cocker Spaniel named named Rusty someone gave us. And before we moved from Tennessee, I had a dog named Boomer that we brought with us. Then after we got married and had a child, someone gave us a Cocker Spaniel, which was my favorite dog as a kid growing up. And then we had Buster. And Buster, the story of how we got Buster, we had a junior church preacher, and my kids were in junior church. And somebody wanted to get rid of some puppies. And so they brought him to the junior church, and they gave it away to the kids. And guess who won? My daughter. And our dog named Goliath, it was a golden retriever. I'm sorry, not a golden retriever, a Cocker Spaniel, got stolen. And so we didn't have a dog at the time. Daddy, look what I won. Look what I won. I looked at the junior church preacher. If looks could kill. Really? You came, what are you going to do now? Your little girl, Daddy, look what I won. Dog's name was Buster. We didn't know what kind of dog it was. We found out later it was half Chow, half German Shepherd. And boy, it was strong and tough. And it was a little too protective. When my wife's piano lesson people would pull in the driveway, sometimes they would call, could you come get your dog? It won't let us out of the car. So he was that type dog. But on a good note, one time we got home from church, we had some people across the street that weren't really good. They would throw beer cans and were trying to break into our house, stole a stereo out of a vehicle that we had, and caused problems. But I was outside praying one night around the house, probably around 11 o'clock, and I heard a can hit our driveway, and I looked at it, and I could see where the condensation from the can, where it had been thrown from. A guy was sitting in his car across the street. So I walked over, knocked on the window. I said, I think you dropped something. Scared him to death. Anyway, long story short about the guy, I got to win him to Christ in jail a few weeks after that, and we became friends. So it ended up good, but Maggie got a pit bull. And so we were getting home from church one day and walking in the house, and Sarah, the little girl, was one of the last ones in, and the pit bull started running toward her. The guy had sicked his pit bull and started running toward it before he got saved. And Buster, that half Chow, half German Shepherd, saw that, yelled or barked, started chasing the pit bull. And boy, looking, he would run like a horse, just the way his shoulders would go, just run like a horse. Chased the pit bull down, had it on his back, had it on his neck. One of the boys had to pull him off, or he would have killed him. That pit bull would not look at our direction anymore. And after Buster died, we got a Great Pyrenees, and it was a gift. Someone dropped it off in our church parking lot as a puppy. Anyway, puppies are sweet and cute and adorable. We now have a golden retriever, and we have a couple Alaskan or Huskies, and they're my sons. Anyway, puppies are awesome. Love puppies. All right, things I hate. Coyotes. Grew up on a farm. Coyotes are wicked. They will literally eat a calf coming out of the mother. The mother is very hard to fight off something like that while she's giving birth. Coyotes will literally wait around a pregnant cow and kill the calf just coming out. And they're bad. So I just looked it up. Coyotes may be hunted year-round in Tennessee. There is no bag limit. You can literally go hunt coyotes and kill one every day, and that's legal to do. They are not good animals, especially when you grow up on a farm. All right, quote for the day. I'll give you a quote. I love Abraham Lincoln's quote. Remember, not everything you read on the internet is true. I think I want to keep saying that to remind you that not everything you read on the internet is true. Quote for the day. Beautiful Christian quote by Jim Elliot. He was a missionary who gave his life on the mission field, and he wrote this before he died. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. Awesome. All right, last week we started a Bible trivia question, and it was an interesting one. I sort of hinted that it wasn't as easy as it sounded. Who was the second king of Israel? The second king of Israel. Most people would automatically say David, because Saul was the first king, chosen by God, head and shoulders above everyone else, and then David was the next king. But depending on how you looked at it, God was technically the first king. I was talking about a human king. Then you look at Abimelech, who had a certain tribe of people, a certain city of people of Shechem that made him king. I would not count him a rightful king of Israel, so I would not have counted him. So in my mind, the first king of Israel was Saul, chosen by God. anointed by Samuel. And then the second king of Israel was Ishbosheth, who was one of Saul's sons, who became king over Israel for a couple years after Saul died. David became king over Judah right away, and then later on became king over Israel also. So technically, David would have been the second king of Judah, but not the second king of Israel, because you had Ishbosheth, who became king in the meantime. So that's who I had as putting it. I could have counted Saul, because if you counted God or Abimelech as the first king, Saul technically could have been the second, but that's the way I had it. Okay? All right, this week, here we go. A little bit easier one. Where was Moses' second wife from? Where was Moses' second wife from? Okay, that will be that this week. Email me, askpastorbaker@gmail. You will win. I'll send you a digital gift in the mail. Where was Moses' second wife from? All right, so the lesson this week is this: no curfew, no timeouts, and no swats. We have 11 children and teach a lot on child rearing. Our youngest is almost 13, and our youngest daughter is 14, and so we will have 5 teenagers again next month. 5 teenagers at the same time in the same house, and we pretty much had 5 teenagers in the house for the last bunch of years since the kids started going, and teach a lot about it. The kids are doing well, working good jobs, married, children, grandchildren. Things are going well with them, and so we teach a lot about child rearing. And here's my philosophy, okay? On the quiz, okay? This is a philosophy of child rearing. Who is the best father ever? Not me, okay? I'm not perfect. Best father ever would be God, our Heavenly Father. So, how does God rear his children? That is how we should rear our children. It's my whole philosophy for child rearing. When questions come up, okay, what should we do? All right, God, what would you do with your children? Okay. We used to have 13 children. A couple of them got buried. No, just kidding. That's not true. My wife hates it when I joke about that. No, that's not true. Okay. So if God might take his children out, we don't. But biblically, what are the principles? What does God do with his children? How do we do that with ours? Okay. And also growing up, had a really good mom and dad, but didn't get the best advice on child rearing. The women at church would tell my mom, oh, you just can't be that strict, or they'll rebel. No, we're rebelling already anyway. Making it strict is not going to make us not rebel, or making it lenient to let us do more, and we will prove it. All right, first one that I'd say is no curfew. We never had, and we still don't have, a curfew for our children. What? You just let them go out whenever you want and come back whenever they want? No, we didn't say that, but there's no curfew, okay? So when I was growing up, be home by 11 o'clock. Oh, I always complained. Strict parents got to be home by 10 or 10:30. Average parents got to be home by 11. Lenient parents got to be home by 12, midnight. And then parents that didn't care, they had no curfew. Come home whenever you want. And so we have no curfew. And again, it doesn't mean you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. Here's our principle. Where are you going? Who are you going to be with? What are you going to be doing? Is that approved? If that activity is approved, and the person they're going to be with is approved, doesn't matter what time it is, they can be approved. We would have kids that'd be out at 2 and 3 in the morning. What? 2 or 3 in the morning? Yes. How come? Because the activity was approved. They were working. The person they were with was approved. That was a church member from our church who had a cleaning business. And what were they doing? They were working, cleaning the floors of a Captain D's, and it could only be done when they weren't open, so it had to be at 2 or 3 in the morning. They worked. They got to learn work. They got to work hard. They got to be around a good Christian influence. I knew who they were with and where they were at, and so that's approved. So how about if they wanted 8 o'clock at night to just drive around town? No. What? How come? No, because that activity is not approved. Driving around is not an approved activity. Who are you going to be with? Oh, just hanging around with people. Those are not approved people. Okay? Not approved activity is not approved people. Then it doesn't matter what time it is. The answer is no. You're not going to do that. And so grow up with your kids thinking and telling, no, there's no curfew. If it's a good place, doing a good thing with good people, then we will approve that. If it is not, then we won't approve it. It doesn't matter what time it is. Please understand, for kids, if you have, we're 11 o'clock. We have a strict curfew. You've got to be home by 11 o'clock. And parents think they're being really strict and hard. You know all that means to a kid out there? whatever you're going to be doing wrong, you just got to start earlier. That's all it means. If you're going to be with a girl, you just got to start early. If you're going to be drinking, you got to start early. If you're going to be doing carousing, fighting, whatever, you got to start. That's all that means, okay? A curfew just means you got to start doing whatever you're going to be doing bad earlier so you have time to get home by your curfew, okay? So there should be no curfew, okay? No curfew, but every activity has to be approved. I'm amazed that we were allowed just to go out and do whatever as long as you're home by a certain time. And by the way, what they tell you they're doing, follow up on it. You mean you don't trust your children? Absolutely not. What? You don't trust your kids? Let me see. The Bible says, make no provision for the flesh. Are we supposed to trust our flesh? No. In our flesh dwelleth what? No good thing. Should I trust my flesh? Absolutely not. Should I trust yours? No. Should I trust a teenage boy's flesh? Really? If you think yes, how old are you? Have you forgotten what it was like to be that age? No. Okay. Trust but verify. What does that mean? Okay, you can go here, and then you never know. I just might show up where you are to be able to see. Now we use what's called a Life 360 app, and any one of us can see where any of us is anytime, which is nice because my wife doesn't answer her phone. Oh, it was on silent. Oh, it's in my purse. But I can pull it up and see, okay, she's at Walmart. It's okay. And by the way, I want that for me. I want my kids to be able to see. They can know where dad is anytime. That helps even protect me. In the flesh dwelleth no good thing. And so we don't have a curfew because every activity is approved on the basis of the activity and the people they're with and what they're going to be doing, not based on the time. Okay? This Friday night, my kids are going to be out all night long. They're not even coming home. How come? Because it's at an approved place with approved people doing approved things. Okay? The boys, we have a men and boys camp out. So we're going camping out. We won't be home all night, but they're with approved people doing approved things. We're doing a camp out. Okay? So number one is no curfew. Letting them go and not knowing really where they are and what they're doing. By the way, they won't be honest. Follow up on it. I used to, Dad said, where are you going tonight? Oh, we're going to see this movie. And what movie? And we'd tell him. So after it's over and come home, so how was the movie? Well, I didn't go see the movie, but I couldn't tell him that because he'd say, what did you really do? And I couldn't tell him that. So I said, oh, it was okay. Oh, what was it about? I don't know. I didn't see the movie. They didn't do trailers on your phone back then. So I'd have to make up the plot to a movie. And I said, oh, that sounds good. I might want to see that. No, that'll mess it up. So now I have to put in why he wouldn't like the movie that I said I saw that I didn't see and made up a plot for it. Not good. Yes, not good. Okay. So don't just trust the kids where they are. Find out where they are and what they're doing. Make sure it's approved. Number two, no timeouts. The discipline to try to get children to do something many times is timeout. I'm going to put you in timeout. I'm going to put you in timeout. Why don't you do that? The Bible says the right kind of discipline, listen carefully, yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness. What I want when my children do wrong, and I use a correct biblical discipline, I want it to yield the peaceable fruit of righteousness. Does a timeout do that? No, listen carefully. A timeout can make them obey, but it doesn't yield the peaceable fruit of righteousness. They may obey what you want, but it doesn't mean they have a peaceable fruit of righteousness, which means the discipline that you give them, and if it doesn't work well, then they get bitter, upset, and mad. The Bible says a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. What is a timeout? A child left to himself. I had a friend of mine, had a couple kids, and he knew we had 11, and we were having lunch. An old friend from high school who lives down in this area, and he said, boy, what do you do with your kids in discipline? So I started teaching him this. Like, oh, no, I can never do that. I can never do that. I said, okay, what do you do? I put them in timeout. And how does that work? He said, it's horrible. They won't obey me to go in timeout. So I have to pick them up and physically put them in timeout. Then they hold their breath until they pass out, or they scream until they can't talk anymore. Huh. How's that working? Oh, you say, oh, my children don't do that. But timeouts do not yield a peaceful fruit of righteousness. How does God discipline us? God doesn't use timeouts, okay? God's the best father. He knows what's best. I don't. So we do not use timeouts. I've never used timeouts. Now, our kids have babysat other kids, and we don't discipline their child. And if their parents use timeout, then we use timeout. And guess what that has done? it confirms in us even more that timeouts aren't good. You may get them to obey. You may control them with it, manipulate them, and bribe them with those things. But that's not going to yield the peaceable fruit of righteousness that loving biblical discipline will do. Okay? And number 3, no swats. Kids like, yeah, no swats. Okay? What is a swat? I did not say we did not spank our children. I used corporal punishment. I said no swats. Swats are where parents have, okay, for this thing you get 2 swats. For this thing you get 3 swats. For this thing you get whatever swats. And they have a number on it. We've never done that. We don't believe that because discipline is to break their will. Where they wanted to do this, now they don't. And the loving biblical discipline did that. If you tell a kid, all right, this is 2 swats, then they know it's coming. They know it's 2, and they just grimace and brace it for 2. And guess what? You did not change. You did not change the heart. You did not change the heart. Never told our kids how many swats we're going to get. Now, most of the time it's 2 or 3, hardly ever more, because it doesn't need to be. Their attitude and behavior has changed, but we don't want to tell them swats because then they can just grimace and grit through it in rebellion or in anger instead of letting that heart be broken. Letting their will be broken for that. By the way, when a discipline is done right, by the way, I'll tell you, the gift for today is 14 points on how to lovingly, biblically discipline your child. Just email me, askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and ask for that, how to lovingly, biblically discipline your child, or the study on discipline. There are 14 points. When we do a spanking, 14 things we go through to be able to make sure it's loving, biblical discipline. And when it's done right, your child immediately after discipline runs to you and wants to hug you and hold you and be close to you. And we always do that. If your child is still mad, then the will might not have been broken. If the child is afraid of you, then you hurt them, and that's abuse. That's not discipline. Okay? Loving, biblical discipline. Anytime we've done discipline, the child wants to be close to us and have that relationship restored, which is exactly what we want, which is exactly the purpose of the discipline, is to get them to do the right thing, do God's will, do the thing they're supposed to do, and restore the relationship. How does God spank us? How does God discipline us? He chastises us. And why? To get us to obey him and to have that relationship restored and to come back to God. That's what God says, despise not the chastening of the Lord when we're rebuked of him. God says he does it because he loves us. He loves us. He wants to bring us back close to him and to fix that discipline problem in our life. Okay? So there you have it. No curfew, no timeouts, no swats. So you can get your kids together and say, hey, we have some new child rearing rules. We're not going to have a curfew anymore. Yay! We're not going to do timeouts. Wow! And no swats. This is going to be awesome. And then you explain the way it's going to be. By the way, last thing on this, if you do need to do a change, I've got a children's program that teach all this and go through all the training on it. And there's a bigger program and a smaller program if you need something like that, fixfamilies.com. You can find that or email me. I'd be glad to talk to you about it, where we teach a lot on this. But if you have not done it right, okay, then you go to your children and you say, hey, we need to apologize to you for something. We messed up. We did not do what we're supposed to do. And children, we need to ask your forgiveness. What? You're asking us to forgive you? Freak the kids out, okay? By the way, kids are very forgiving. And they'll, yes, of course, Mom and Dad, we forgive you. And you say, we have not been lovingly, biblically correcting you the way we're supposed to, and we're sorry. And we want to change some things and get them to forgive you first, and then biblically lay out what the Bible says and what we're going to do from now on. Okay? And you can do that with the Bible verse that you know on chastening, and then the 14 points that I'm going to give you as far as how to lovingly, biblically discipline your child. But I do not encourage swats. We don't encourage timeouts, and we don't encourage having a curfew. A lot of kids have been messed up by a, quote, early curfew. Parents are being really strict. Well, everybody's doing it. Guess what? Everybody's not doing it because you're not. And so if you're not, then guess what? Everyone is not doing it. All right, so if you'd like that, how to lovingly, biblically discipline your children, just email me, askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and we will get that to you. All right, ending, hey, be kind to everyone because everyone's having a tough time. Message today from a friend. They are taking his wife off life support. Tough time. Be kind to everyone because everyone's having a tough time. And until next time, get wisdom for your life It is the principal thing. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the Wisdom for Life podcast. If you have any questions for us, email us at askpastorbaker@gmail.com, and we will answer them in an upcoming podcast. The email is askpastorbaker@gmail.com.